Hey everyone, it's Matt from Doctors of Running. For our Science Friday this week, I'm going to talk about carbon fiber plates. It's been a hot topic the last couple years. It's not new. This technology and concept is seen a lot in orthotics as well, and it's been going on for years, as well as Adidas and a couple other companies feel like were using these back in like the 90s. So it's not new, and my hope is to talk to you guys about what these are, what they can and can't do, and help you make better decisions about whether utilizing a carbon fiber plated shoe is right for you, or whether it's right to use all the time, or what the big deal is. So we have the immense pleasure, or I have the immense pleasure of getting my feet on the North Face Flight Vective, which was the first trail shoe to have at least a carbon fiber plate, at least one that is runnable. There's a couple others out there that are extremely heavy that I would consider more hiking shoes, but that's an opinion. So there's another one out right now. Craft has a carbon fiber plated shoe out. We have not tested it yet. We're hoping to get our hands on it later. Craft, if you're watching, we'd love a pair. But the North Face Flight Vective is one of the first performance trail shoes to have a carbon fiber plate. I'll be honest with you guys that I actually like the Vective Infinite more, because just because a shoe has a carbon fiber plate doesn't make it magic. Carbon fiber plates really stiffen the ride of a shoe, and like anything, it's a tool. You have to know how to utilize it correctly, and your biomechanics are going to have to match utilizing this specific thing. So carbon fiber plates, right, they stiffen the ride of the shoe. That can be good for people who, don't want their foot to move a lot. They want to be able to, and so in a lot of like rockered shoes, this can unload some of the foot and ankle with that rocker and help propel you forward a little. I shouldn't say propel, I apologize. Help roll you forward a little bit more. The thing with carbon fiber plates is that if you don't put enough load into the plate, it's not going to snap back. People assume that this thing is giving you free energy. It really doesn't. It's going to respond to how much force you place through it. So if you take a shoe like the Flight Vective, if you're running slowly in the shoe, you're probably not going to get the same benefit, right? If you're not putting a lot of force to the ground, the plate's not going to bend and snap you forward. So if you're running faster and putting more load through the ground, then yes, you might be able to utilize this better. And that's what I found with this shoe is it does not feel very good when I am jogging or doing an easy pace. It really feels best when the pace picks up, and that's the only time where this shoe starts to feel lighter than it feels. Like even now, holding it, I don't know why it feels heavier than the Vective Infinite, even though this one measures like almost a ½ ounce lighter. I don't know, but again, the only time it feels lighter is when you actually put enough force in the shoe and get it to kick. So a lot of this stuff started with this shoe, which many of you will recognize as the original Nike Vaporfly 4%. Now, some people are going to disagree with me, but a lot of the recent literature has suggested that the carbon fiber plate only adds like 1% at most to what makes this shoe and help improve economy, and that 4% is relative, by the way. A couple great people have done some research through this shoe, including some author Jared Ward contributed to authoring one of the studies, which found that actually plate stiffness is relative to people. So different people like stiffer or less stiff shoes, and it's very dependent on the person. So that 4% study is really, there's a line there that some people are going to have more or less benefit from a shoe like that. One of the biggest factors is honestly the foam, and we know that. So a lot of shoes are coming out without special foams right now, so you're not really getting the same benefit as some of these other shoes like the Vaporfly or the Endorphin Pro. So that's the first thing, but we're talking about plates. So these shoes are a bit more aggressive. If you don't have as significant of a rocker, you're going to have a hard time transitioning through this shoe, because a lot of people aren't going to put enough force to actually bend the plate and transition through. And that's the problem, is that the stiffer the shoe, the less flex it has, which is why a lot of them have to have a lot of toe spring to help transition you forward. So as I again mentioned, that plates aren't magic. It's really dependent on how much force you put into the ground. If you're someone that runs really lightly on their feet and doesn't put a lot of force to the ground, or runs a little bit slower, this may not be a great idea for you. In terms of the North Face shoes, the Endurus or the Infinite might be better for you. It's been my same opinion, and I apparently am not one of the more common ones, on the Adios Pro, that I typically think this shoe tends to really see benefit when you are going all out. So this one's different because it doesn't have carbon fiber plate. Actually, that's not true. It has a little one in the heel, but it has carbon fiber rods here, which feel even stiffer to me. And again, for this, I didn't really enjoy this shoe until I picked the pace up. You can see my review again for my thoughts on the toe spring and the plate. But these shoes, you need to be running hard in a lot of these to make these work. Now, the Vaporfly actually does pretty well because the ZoomX is so soft. A lot of people will just transition through this fairly well. So this one tends to work for a large population that have stable ankles, which is why a lot of people have like these. But you also have options now like the Carbon X2, which again is a little bit more forgiving, not as aggressive, but there's still a plate here. And again, a lot of people will benefit from this shoe for using for like a marathon distance where the plate isn't necessarily as aggressive as some other shoes, but there's still some cushioning. And I honestly think this is a carbon fiber plated shoe that might do well for the masses as a racing shoe for the marathon. So definitely, if those of you are afraid of going, oh my gosh, is the carbon fiber plate going to be too stiff for me in some of the Vaporflies or the Endorphin Pro, I would check out the Carbon X2 because I think it does a great job of being not so aggressive that you can't handle running easy in this. Like, I've done easy long runs in this shoe and it does really well. This is different, right? Because I don't think it's as aggressive. There's a really good rocker to it, and it's made for long distances. Whereas something like, as I mentioned, the Flight Vective, this plate is pretty stiff and the shoe's pretty aggressive. So unless you're putting a lot of force on the ground, I probably wouldn't suggest this shoe unless you're trying to run fast. If you're looking for more a training shoe or for easier mileage, look at the Endurus and the Flight, the Endurus or the Infinite. Or, you know, there's a lot of other shoes out there like the Endorphin Speed that has a nylon plate, or other shoes that don't have one. A plate isn't magic. It's not going to magically make you faster. Like anything, you have to put enough force into it to utilize it. We are finding from the literature, although there's some people who are disagreeing with this, that the plates aren't the biggest factor with these economy improvements, not performance improvements, economy improvements that we're seeing. And to finally get to this, the plates, again, they are just a tool. All they do is stiffen the midsole. If you can provide enough force into the midsole to bend it and have it snap back, great, you're going to utilize the plate. If you don't, it's just going to feel like a really stiff shoe. So again, those who don't put as much force on the ground, maybe running a little slower pace, may not find a benefit from those and may actually feel like they're uncomfortable. And what we found from some of the literature is that if it's too stiff, it'll actually put way more force into your forefoot and the MTP joints, which clinically I've seen a couple patients that I suspect but don't have evidence that this type of shoe type has placed them at risk for various injuries in the toe, whereas others have done really well and it's been able to help them run more because they are having trouble with their foot and ankle. But the plate isn't what makes that magic, it's the rockered sole. So before I go off on a tangent, again, the point of plates is it stiffens the sole. They are not magic, they are not rockets. It's to stiffen the sole up. Certain people will benefit from that stiffness, other people won't. It depends on you. So instead of just saying, oh, I need a carbon fiber plated shoe, you need to test this stuff. You need to find out what works with your mechanics, what feels good, what doesn't, and a plated shoe may be good for you, it may not. You're gonna have to find out what your body likes, and it's very individual.